Hi everyone, are you excited for tomorrow's solar eclipse? This is being hyped up as an incredibly opportune astrological environment for enacting change in our lives. And while I want to remind you that change is possible at any time in our lives, ritual and cosmic shift do help make these changes more, a little bit easier of a transition. The reason is because if your whole life you've been told and believed that the sky is blue, and if you're going to shift to a belief system that is a rainbow collection of all these extraordinary colors mixed together, typically to just change the belief like that can be difficult for our human minds, with the world that we currently live in and the current density. And so when we have something happening like an astrological opportunity, a new moon, an eclipse, a full moon, these can be opportune times to help us go into a new set of beliefs. So I have a writing piece coming out soon that I'm really excited to share with you. And in this piece, I have some practices I'm going to share with you today that just really deal with this practice of releasing ideas of your identity which you have held in the past so that you can welcome in a new set of beliefs and enable yourself more opportunity, more capability, so you can open up to your true potential. So the first of these steps is to let go. We need to find a way to release the identity that we've held thus far. And in order to do that, I want you to start off asking the question, who am I? And think about this question for a moment before we do some writing. So think about this question, who are you? Me personally, I have been a human resources person, a recruiter, I'm trying to identify as a writer as I get more work out there. I'm now a yoga teacher. So there's things like that, but there's also, I'm a daughter and I'm a sister and I'm someone who's gone through a divorce and the loss of a dog and the loss of a parent. So we have all these things that we identify as, and a lot of things can be limiting. Some of these beliefs can be things like, for me, a pattern that I see often, or used to see often in relationships, was wanting to try to fix people. I wanted to love the unlovables and love the people that I felt like needed it the most. And the reason that I wanted to do that was because I needed to learn myself what unconditional love felt like. I needed to learn myself that I was lovable and to give that to myself. And it's a wonderful thing to give outside of yourself, but not to your detriment. So many of us have these relationship patterns where we're always trying to fix someone else or we're trying to heal their problems. And we really need to be able to look within and heal ourselves. So adjusting our identity and recognizing those things can help us with those shifts. So I want you to just take a moment and now start writing down who you are. Who do you identify as? Some additional prompts. Do you sabotage your career success? Do opportunities come up and you run from them? Do you allow yourself to get blindsided by deadlines that you've known were coming? Do you create the same patterns over and over again in relationships? Because it's not that you're meeting the same types of people, it's that you're welcoming them into your life over and over again. We need to recognize who you are limiting yourself to be. Who are you limiting yourself to be? Ask yourself that. And who are others limiting you to be? Maybe you're the baby of the family, and so you feel like you don't have to be the most successful, like you should be kind of a screw up in ways. Or maybe you're the oldest sibling and maybe you feel like you have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. Maybe you feel like you have to do everything with a certain level of perfection and achievement. Also ask yourself, who do your friends expect you to be? Have you been the life of the party? Do they expect you to drink a certain amount and act a certain way or dress a certain way? Or date in a certain way, what are those patterns? Now I want to talk about the next prompt, which is, what have life's polarities been so kind to teach you? What have been your gracious lessons to learn? Maybe you have someone in your life whose love was very conditional, and so maybe you need to learn to welcome in and accept unconditional love and to love others unconditionally. And maybe you've learned that because you've had this mirror in front of you to witness. I want to be different from that. I want to overcome this. Or maybe, someone in your parents' generation or the generation before, sometimes career problems can go multi-generations back, where someone had a real disappointment, a real letdown, and that can cycle through for generations and generations. And that isn't an unfortunate thing that's happening to you. That's a polarity for you to recognize that, okay, this is a pattern that those before me have dealt with, and they have repeated the same cycle. But because I've been able to notice and be aware of that, I can break that cycle. Maybe it's even, your relationship patterns of people that you've seen around you or before you. Maybe it's ways that your bosses treat people. Recognize and write down some of those maybe tougher lessons that you've seen, some of those polarities. Be taking notes on this. Be writing down, did you learn about debt or about illness or about I can't? Or did you learn about hardship or limiting beliefs, or you can't truly be happy, or you can't do what you're passionate about? These things have been your guides to tell you, this is what A looks like. I can choose Z. So take a moment, really explore that idea. Write down some of those ways that you have been gifted to become who you are. For me, I'm very grateful for the level of empathy and awareness of others and self-awareness that I have been able to develop in my life. And, that comes from polarity. And it's something I'm very grateful for. So while our parents might be absolutely amazing people, they are human beings just like we are. And we also someday will model for our children some polarities, because there are some ways of being that are important to us that will not be important to all who come after us. And that's okay. I'm just saying, let's be aware of what those are. All right. Now, third, I want to know what your twist is. So think about how some movies or TV shows, you will watch them all the while through, and then at the end there is this brilliant twist that you never saw coming. And the reason for this twist is often because we're seeing a side of the character that we have not yet seen throughout this story. So we talked about how other peoples are seeing you. We talked about some of the polarities that have created this version of you that you know yourself as. And now I want to know, how are we going to twist? How are we going to pivot and shake things up? So, maybe it's not arguing with someone in your life all the time, and instead learning to meet them with love. Because when we give love, we have more capacity to get love back. When we give fear, we will get fear back. So I want you to think a little bit about, what is your twist going to be? Okay? You don't have to really write on this. Just write down twist and let this kind of marinate. Let this sink in. Because know that you can twist at any moment, just like in a movie. I know life is not just like a movie, but what I'm saying is, you don't, in the next moment and the next and the next, have to be and live as the person that you have been prior to this moment. Alright, so I want you to go back to your first step. and those things that you wrote down that you knew yourself as, some of those limiting beliefs that we've placed on yourself, I want you to go through these and flip them. So, if you recognize that you have patterns of trying to give love where you feel like it's needed most, what you need is unconditional love for yourself. So I want you to write down the affirmation, and these two are really good for anyone, really. I am unconditionally loved. I am unconditionally loved. And then I want you to say the next one, which is, I love unconditionally. I love unconditionally. And as you say and write those mantras or affirmations, I want you to really think about those. I want you to really think about, as you say them, what it would feel like to be unconditionally loved, or what it does feel like in your life if you can recognize that. And then I want you to think about what it feels like to love others unconditionally. We don't always have to like them. We don't always have to like the behaviors and the personalities, but it's remembering that all beings are worthy of love. Another two that I think can be beneficial to everyone are, I am the embodiment of my born potential. I am the embodiment of my born potential. And what this means is that we are all created in the divine image. We are all cut from the same cloth. And when we are born, when we are children, we are joyful, we are playful, we get up to try to walk and we fall down and we keep getting up, we keep on trying, we try to talk and we get frustrated because our motor skills aren't where the messages that we want to share with the world are yet, but we keep trying and we're patient, and sometimes we get annoyed with it, sometimes we get frustrated, but we don't give up. We get there. And think about how, things like prejudice and racism and these horrible things that we're dealing with in our world right now, these are learned behaviors. Hatred is a learned behavior. Differences, separation are learned characteristics. These are not things that we are born believing. So when you say, I am the embodiment of my born potential, you are saying that childlike nature, that innocence, that openness, that oneness, that joy, that determination, all of that is who you are, and you're allowing that to come out through you in your life. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves. Sometimes, especially, I'm just coming out of a job situation that was a really rough fit for me. And I remember being in meetings before, in this next one, saying, I see the embodiment of the born potential in all. I see the embodiment of the born potential in all. And what you're doing is that same thing we talked about, putting in yourself, you're putting on others as well. And you're remembering that, okay, I don't have to like you right now. I don't have to agree with you right now, but I can still honor the divine being within you, the soul within you, the wisdom that you may not be aware of right now within you. I know that you are my brother, you are my sister, we are all one, we are all connected. And sometimes you will have to say it over and over again, because what happens is we can have these incredible toolboxes, we can have these wonderful practices, but life gets chaotic and difficult, and then we so easily lose track of the flow of the universe. And okay, so an idea that I've been really diving into and writing about this year is opening up to the flow of the universe and trusting it to provide for your highest good. And when you can do that, when you can align with it and take worry and fear and doubt and stress and chaos out of the equation, then you can allow things to unfold, and they can unfold in such a beautiful, natural way. And so what we're saying in these mantras, in these, whether you're saying I am unconditional love, or I love unconditionally, or I see the embodiment of the born potential in all, we are remembering source, the universe flow. We are remembering our truth. And so everything can unfold for our highest good. So, take some time, write some additional affirmations or mantras if you need to, based on what you wrote above. I mean, you might need to write some things like, I finish what I start, or I'm very intelligent and successful. I'm incredibly fit and healthy and love my physical body. Whatever these things are, these places where you've felt stuck in one particular box, you can change that right now. And tomorrow is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to do that. So, and actually, depending on when you're reading this, I mean, what I'm talking about is the solar eclipse as an opportune time. But this is really something you can do at any time, because you can make this shift at any moment. And a good way to practice this and help embody this shift, which means living this shift. So we have these ways that we want to be. We need to embody them, which means we're going to start to live them, to breathe them, to feel them. And a wonderful way to do that is, I don't know if you've seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, where she stands up in the victory stance like this. It's just arms up in a V. You can even, for yoga, we do breath of fire, where our hands are like this, arms are like this, and we do breath of fire. So arms are like this, stand up tall, or if you're sitting down, but more so try to stand with your body in kind of an X position. If you can look in a mirror as you do it, look right into your own eyes and say these affirmations. And in yoga, we have a belief that if you say something aloud, then in a whisper, and then silently, you are really sending out the message to the mind, body, and spirit. So it's a great practice to say these affirmations, looking yourself in the eye in the mirror, not just looking at your whole physical self or what you're wearing or how great you look, but look yourself in the eye, and your focus is gonna go more so to one eye than the other. That's fine, but say these things, say it out loud, say it in a whisper, and say it silently. And as you say it, truly feel it. I want you to truly feel and embody. Maybe you're saying, I am joyful. I want you to channel up joy for a moment while you're saying it. Maybe think about playing with your dog or your child or running or whatever it is that really makes you feel so happy to be alive. And, try doing that at least once or twice per day, and try doing it for 40 days, because what we do, what we give energy to on a regular basis, is what we become. So spending that little bit of time each day in those practices is what is going to help us to feel into a new vibration, a new set of beliefs, a new way of being. So I hope you found this helpful, and I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful eclipse and amazing rest of your day. Satnam.